Hi, my name is Jeff and welcome back to my workshop. Today we're working on twin baggage carts. This is a kit from Bar Mills. Each of these has two baggage carts in it. I actually have two of these kits. We're going to work on the first one today. So let's take a look and see what's inside of here. So first thing I see is the laser board with all the parts etched on them and a sheet with instructions. You can see some of the detailing in the wheels and the side frames there, and then a sheet, just a cover photo for it. The instructions has a list of recommended tools, pretty standard hobby stuff. And then the instructions give you some good illustrations as well as a parts number list layout of the laser board. So let's get started. We're going to start by staining the wood. I've got both of the kits I ordered here because I want to make 4 carts total, but this video we're going to concentrate on the first 2. But I am going to stain all of it now. So I'm just using India ink and alcohol wash and just painting it on the boards. We'll do both sides of these. Once everything's been stained, we flip it over and do the back side. And once everything's been stained, we're going to set a couple of weights on here. I'm using some Machinist's 1, 2, 3 blocks just to keep everything flat and keep it from warping, and then I'll do the other one. Okay, with these done, we're ready to assemble. We'll set one kit apart. We'll do that. I'll do that later. We're just going to concentrate on one at a time so we don't have too many parts. Now, unlike the instructions which tell you to remove all the parts, I like to remove them from the carrier sheet as I need them. I find I'm less prone to losing parts when I do it this way. So we need to start with parts 2 and 3. So these are parts 2 here. So we'll just use I've got a brand new blade in my hobby knife, and I'm just cutting the tabs where the parts attach to the carrier sheet. Once cut through, make sure I'm getting through on the cut. Sometimes it's easier to tell where it's attached on the back side than it is the front side. But once you get through, it should lift right out. And then we need part 3, which is right here. And the part just drops off. So the first thing I'm going to do is test fit everything, because if I need to do any sanding, I want to do that before I start applying glue. And these fit nicely together, so now we can apply some glue to it and glue it together. I'm using a carpenter's glue. One of the advantages I have of doing a voiceover like I'm doing here is that my vision can give me credit to hindsight now, and I wish I had painted the parts before removing them from the carrier sheet. We'll be painting them later in the video, but as you'll see, it would have been easier to do a lot of the painting while it was still flat on the sheet. So we're gluing the long supports for the bed into the rear wheel assembly structure that holds the rear axle. And I'm just using yellow wood glue, whatever your favorite brand is. And then just insert the piece in. And just make sure you get it nice and square to the base. This would have been a good, and then wipe out any excess glue you have. This actually would have been a good spot to use my 1, 2, 3 blocks to make sure everything was square and straight. And then we'll do the assembly for the other wagon as well. So we'll remove those pieces, or we did those, you can see them there. Next thing we want to work on is the front wheel assembly. And it uses 2 pieces that hold the 5th wheel and axle. And those are parts 4 and 5, so we'll remove those. And then we can get those glued together. And these fit together. The 2 slots come together and slide in. And I found these were a tight fit. This one I did end up having to sand to get it to fit. But once fit together and glued together, and set them aside to dry. And then we can remove the cart bases. And we're going to work on the bottom of these because that's where the axles are going. We'll start by adding the assembly that holds the 5th wheel and the front axle. And we're just making sure everything is flat, and we just apply glue to the base. And then it attaches so that the center is lined up just behind, on the inside of that middle hole that holds the upper supports. This one wasn't sitting flat, so just sanded it smooth a little bit. And then I glued that to the other base. Now we're going to add the first assembly we put with the cross braces and the rear axle. Again, we're just going to apply glue, the yellow carpenter's glue. You could use a white glue or even CA on this, but I like the carpenter's glue for wood on wood joints. I find that works the best. And you want to make sure that those cross braces are up against the front assembly. So with those done, now I'm going to paint the deck. And you can see here as I'm applying some of the paint, I'm using a sponge technique and a pale gray paint and just dabbing it on so it looks like it's kind of peeled and worn off in places. But you can see how that would have been so much easier if I had done it before I removed these from the carrier sheet. So we'll do the 2 decks, and then I'm going to use a little blue paint along the edges of the carts and the wheel assemblies, so kind of trim out in a dark blue paint. The station is on the Arlington Heights Society of Metal Engineers layout and is represented by the railroad we call the Double C, the Cincinnati, Chicago, St. Paul, and Pacific. Its colors are blue and tan. So that's what I'm doing here is we're going to use blue. We'll use a tan color for the wheels. This is the same blue that I used to paint the station. The tan is also the same tan. Okay, the wheels I'm going to do on the carrier sheets, and again I'm just going to sponge the paint on to get the finished look on them. If I were doing these as REA carts, that trim would have been blue and the wheels would be red and the deck would be a gray. So if you're building them yourself and you want to paint them that way, that's what I would do. Okay, and then just remove the wheels. These you want to make sure as you cut that you're really kind of following the curve of the wheel so that it stays round and looks right. Okay, with the wheels removed, we'll just glue them onto the axles. Just a dab of wood glue on the axle. I found these parts to be very delicate as I was working on them. Once the wheels are in place and glued in, you want to be very careful as you do the next step so you don't break them. Don't force anything. Everything should be gentle pressure and kind of finesse them into place. Everything is cut extremely well, so you shouldn't have any problems with it. Once the wheels are on and glued, then we can apply the end or the handle to these. I just put a little bit of glue on the end of the fifth wheel assembly, which had been glued onto the stand before I put the wheels on. And then that goes into place, and you can position it in whatever position you want it in. This one I'm going to have pretty much vertical as it's fin storage. The other one we're going to put it at an angle, so maybe we can put a person in front of it holding it, pulling it. Okay, now remove the end pieces. These I also painted with a gray and a touch of the tan paint. And test fit them into the holes and glue in place. Now you can see I have the one upside down with one end attached. That's where I learned that the wheels are fragile. You got to be careful because I applied too much pressure and I broke the wheels off, so I had to glue those back on. And then just to apply this, I put the glue on the end piece and then slip it in. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This is a great starter kit if you have never built a laser cut wood kit. Please make sure you like the video if you have, and enjoy, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss my next video. Thank you for watching.